Hey guys, welcome back to the Music Hole. My name is Cole. Now today we're going to go back to 2004 to talk about one of my favorite bands, Kings of Convenience from Sweden. They're basically like a modern Simon and Garfunkel. Really lovely melodies, really lovely harmonies, really kind of chill, late night, coffee shop vibes. I really like it. Although I will say that I definitely recommend their album, Quiet is the New Loud. That would be my favorite, but this one is really cool too. It's good stuff. I recommend it. So I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. So let's just dive in to track 1, which is called Homesick.
I lose some sales and my boss won't be happy, but I can't stop listening to the sound of two soft voices blended in perfection from the reels of this record that I found. Every day there's a boy in the mirror asking me, what are you doing here? Finding all my previous motives growing increasingly unclear.
Yeah, I love this song. It's kind of funny in a way because I imagine this office worker who basically has realized that, if he works really, really hard at his job, he's not going to get any benefit from him. His boss is not going to pay him more. Other people don't really care that he's doing such an amazing job. He's kind of realized that he's in a bit of a midlife crisis where he doesn't like his career, but he's making money. And, as he says on the song, he spends part of the day just kind of listening to Simon and Garfunkel while he's working, or pretending to work, rather, because he's realized, as I said, that he doesn't need to work super hard. There's just a bare minimum that he's got to do in order to get by. So he's kind of like having these philosophical thoughts. He's wondering about his life, about his future, about whether or not he should quit this job and do something he actually enjoys. It's kind of a really human type of song in a way. It's a very ponderous type song because, I often think about this in my own life. Should I be doing something else? Should I even bother with this channel? Does anybody care? So I do it anyway, just because I like it. But anyways, so I like the song quite a bit. It's a great start to the album. But let's move on to track 2, which is called Misread.
If you wanna be my friend, you want us to get along, please do not expect me to wrap it up and keep it there. The observation I'm doing could easily be understood. A cynical demeanor, but one of us misread. What do you know? It happened again. A friend is not a means you utilize to get somewhere. Somehow didn't notice friendship is an end. What do you know? It happened again.
So I identify with this song so hard because basically you've got this guy who's very cynical, who's not afraid to be himself and to speak his mind. And by doing that, he kind of like isolates himself a lot of the time with new friends that he makes, because a lot of people, by the way, this is just a guess because I'm not a very social person, but it seems like a lot of people decide to act a certain way, not themselves, in order to be liked in a group setting. So in other words, they sacrifice a little bit of themselves in order to adapt to whatever group they're a part of at the moment. But the guy in the song, he's had it up to here, or what's the phrase? He's had it up to here with that kind of BS, with that kind of nonsense. He's just going to be himself. And if being himself means that he disagrees with your opinion, and he's going to tell you that he disagrees with your opinion, and if that means that this guy, his new friend, doesn't like that, well, you know what? I'm sure there are people that he'll meet that are okay with that they're okay with discussions and conversations. You don't have to agree about everything, right? I mean, you could take it one step further and just talk about like the political landscape these days, especially in America, where essentially the danger zone is you've got these ultra left and ultra right people, and neither one likes the other, and they don't really want to have a discussion ever. It's more like, I'm right and you're wrong, or I'm right and you're wrong. It's never like, hey, we disagree, let's talk about it, let's come to a consensus, let's work things out. It's never like that, unfortunately. But like the guy in the song, he kind of wishes it was. He kind of wishes that he could just disagree with people and not be ostracized because of it. So I identify with this guy because, I struggle with, when I'm in a social setting, I struggle with, should I say what I actually think, or should I just shut up and nod and say, haha, that's funny. Like for instance, my own personal dilemma most of the time is when I play a game or I watch a movie and I don't like it at all, but then I'm in a group and everyone's talking about the movie and how much they like the movie, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah, I don't know, guys. It wasn't really that good. I mean, was it really a 10 out of 10? Are you sure it wasn't like a 7 out of 10? So I identify with the struggle going on in this song, so I like it. But anyways, let's move on. We're going to skip to track 4 next. It's called Stay Out of Trouble.
I walked around for hours, 2 10-pence pieces in my hand. I was alone and freezing, still trying hard to understand you. The others knowing I had to work this by myself. But now the feeling's growing, I would be better off with their help. So baby, what we've got has lately not been enough. Not been enough.
Again, another very kind of human, mature song in the sense of this guy, he wants to be a bit of a man, you could say, in the sense that he's having relationship troubles, but he wants to figure life out on his own. He wants to deal with it on his own. He doesn't want to feel like he needs help from other people, right? And that's kind of like a common man problem, where men in general don't like to admit that they need help. It's just kind of like a meme at this point. There's the classic meme of like men who need directions, but instead of asking for directions, they just kind of like drive everywhere, pretending like they know what they're doing. And their wife or girlfriend is just sitting there like, what the hell are you doing? Just ask somebody for directions. So it's kind of a funny song because this guy, he needs some advice from his buddies on what to do. And he's finally, at the end of this song, kind of caving in and asking his buddies, like, what do you think? Should I stay with her? we don't know what she did, essentially. Maybe she cheated on him or something else. Something happened, and he's trying to figure it out. And, you know, as I mentioned, he's the kind of guy who likes to do things on his own, but he's growing up a little bit. He's maturing, and he's finally willing to ask others for advice and listen to them for a change. So I like this song because it's very important for all you men out there to admit that you're wrong or to admit that you need help sometimes, in my opinion. But anyways, let's move on to track 5, which is the favorite. It's called Know How.
Riding on this know-how, never been here before, peculiarly interested, possibly that's all. Is history recorded? Does someone have a tape? Surely I'm no pioneer, cancellations stay the same.
So I kind of like where he's going with this song in the sense of he's dealing with some sort of dilemma, some sort of problem. He's trying to figure it out, but he's pausing for a moment. He's having this philosophical moment where he's like, geez, I wonder how many millions of people have been in my shoes right now, you know, thinking the same thoughts, wondering out loud, you know, like, what the heck do I do next here? And the reason he's thinking about this is because it's such a shame that for some reason, when it comes to certain aspects of human life, people just constantly repeat bad behavior, bad decisions. It's not like science, for example, where, you know, science does a bunch of experiments and they discover a fact about the world, and then we record that fact, and future generations start from the shoulders of giants, as they say. So when it comes to something like science, you know, it's not like every generation is trying to figure out what the heck gravity is. We already know what gravity is, so we just work from there. But when it comes to human social situations that this guy is struggling with, there's no standing on the shoulders of giants, it seems. Everybody just keeps repeating the same mistakes every generation over and over again, even though we have all this art, you know, movies and music and games and all this stuff telling us, giving us advice, you know, like, if you're in this situation, do this, don't do that, right? So it's kind of another funny song. It's an interesting song philosophically because it's true. It's just so bizarre how for certain aspects of human life, we just keep repeating the same old mistakes when we could very easily just learn from the history of others, so to speak. So anyways, that's what this song means to me. But let's move on. Let's talk about another favorite of mine, track 6, which is called Sorry or Please.
5 weeks in a prison, I made no friends. There's more time to be done, but I got a week to spend. I didn't pay much attention first time around. Now you're hard not to notice, right here in my town, where the stage of my old life meets the cast of the new. Tonight's actors, me and you. Each day is taking us closer, while drawing the curtains to close. This far or further I need to know. Your increasingly long embraces, are they saying sorry or please? I don't know what's happening, help me.
Yeah, this song really hit home for me because I'm dealing with sort of a similar thing in my own life where basically this guy in this song, you know, is fresh out of a relationship, 5 weeks in, and he's having a lot of trouble adjusting socially. It sounds like most of the friends he had were also friends with this girl who clearly broke up with him, and it sounds like it wasn't a good breakup. So in other words, the friends he used to have are no longer his friends, really, unfortunately. So he's out on the town. They both, the ex and him, they both live in the same town. All the friends live in the same town, but he's trying to be a completely new person, essentially, because he's got to make new friends. But it sounds like, on one hand, maybe he has trouble making friends. And the reason he had those friends in the first place was because his ex was very social and kind of allowed that to happen, right? So maybe that's one thing. The other thing could be that he lives in a small town, and the friends that he had while he was with his girlfriend are also kind of like the only people in town he could be friends with anyway, if that makes sense, So like the people that he would naturally become friends with are the friends that are no longer on his side. So it's possible that maybe he did something like cheat on his girlfriend or something even worse to cause his ex-friends to, take the girl's side, so to speak. So this poor guy, we don't know exactly what happened between him and his ex, but he's out on his own again. He's trying to find himself, and he's really struggling. He's trying to make new friends, get into new groups, into new social circles, and he just can't figure it out. So, as I mentioned, I'm kind of dealing with a similar type of thing where a lot of the friends I had were also friends with my ex, and it made it really weird because the breakup wasn't great. So I relate to this poor guy. But anyways, let's move on to a really fun song. It's really dancey. It's called I'd Rather Dance With You.
I'd rather dance with you than talk with you. So why don't we just move into the other room? There's space for us to shake and hear like this tune. Even if I could hear what you said, I doubt my reply would be interesting for you to hear, because I haven't read a single book or year. And the only film I saw, I didn't like it at all.
I love this song, aside from the fact that it's really fun and catchy and dancey. I mean, I like what he's talking about, because on one hand, you can think of it like this guy is really struggling to meet a new girlfriend. Maybe he's not that interesting. Maybe he's kind of boring. Like he says on the song, I haven't read a single book all year, which is kind of his way of saying that he's kind of a boring guy. But maybe he's good looking, maybe he's kind of charming. But the problem is, once he starts talking with women, the women get really disinterested. So he's just like, all right, screw that. I'm just going to go to a club. I'm going to, check the scene. I'm going to scope it out. I'm going to find all the hotties, and I'm going to just dance with them. And I'm going to just go straight to, we both have this physical chemistry. We both like each other, physically. We're going to go straight to I see you, you see me, into, sexy time. So he doesn't want to chance it and like have a conversation with some girl. He wants to just go straight from A to B, or rather from A to C, rather. So in other words, it kind of reminds me in a way of dating apps. And what I mean by that is, I'm not very good at dating apps, and I guess something that I do wrong is I match with a girl, and then I start chatting her up for a while, for a couple hours maybe. And usually what happens is they kind of get disinterested and stop talking to me. So I wonder if what you're supposed to do is match with a girl, you both have a crush on each other, and then you just go straight to, like, hey, let's Netflix and chill, or hey, let's go on a date tomorrow, right? And just get rid of the whole conversation stuff. Because basically, I kind of agree with this guy, where a lot of romance is just kind of like body language and chemistry. And once you start talking, it can kind of get in the way of the magic happening, so to speak. At least in my experience, that's kind of true. So, the second thing, the second way I interpret this song is this guy's totally frustrated. As we mentioned, he's 5 weeks in prison, as he put it in the last song. So he's 5 weeks out, fresh from this breakup, and he's having a really hard time making friends or meeting a new girlfriend. And he's just like, screw it. I'm just going to go to the club and I'm just going to dance with hot girls and hope that they hook up with me, right? Because obviously when you're at a club, it's really hard to hear what the other person is saying. So it's more about the physical chemistry. So I like what he's talking about here. It's kind of funny. But anyways, so let's move on to the next track, whose name I forgot. So let me remind myself. It's called Live Long.
Summer child that sits by the water, weaving sunlight threads in his hands. The golden river that day is shelter, a stream where he could make pebbles dance. You looked around you, nobody taken any notice of what you saw. Against the evening sky, a formation, a million blackbirds looking like one.
So I love the message of this song because essentially what it makes me think of is the unique experiences of every human on Earth. So in other words, on this song specifically, he mentions seeing this summer child, this child by a lake or a stream or something, and he's like skipping stones on the water, and he's seeing the rays of light going through this kid's hair. And for some reason, it just looks absolutely beautiful to this guy. And he's the only person who's noticing this, right? He's noticing this amazing, beautiful moment. It's a very subtle moment, but from his perspective, it looks gorgeous. And he's kind of reflecting on that. He's just wondering, like, how many moments like this happen to other people throughout the world? These kind of private moments that you can't really share with anybody because they're very sudden, they're very spontaneous, It's not like he can go up to somebody else and be like, hey, did you notice that too? Did you notice how cool the light looked through that kid's hair? If you said that to somebody, the guy might look at you like, what are you, a pedophile? Right? Or something. So I just like the message of the song is that we all view the world in a very unique way. We have our moments of private beauty, I call it. And he's just trying to remind himself that life is not any one thing in particular. It's not the girl that broke up with him and the struggle he's having to make friends, as I mentioned earlier. It's all of these little moments you have going through the world, noticing all these beautiful random moments that speak to you personally. So he's going kind of deep here. I like it. I don't know if that's exactly what he's talking about on this song, but it makes me think of that. It makes me, appreciate those little moments in life a little bit more. Those moments that you can't really ever share with anybody because it's a very, unique, momentary, spontaneous thing that can happen at any time. So anyways, that's what this song means to me. But let's move on. Let's talk about the last clip from the album, which is from track 10. It's called Surprise Ice.
When past sometimes takes you with soft hands, forcelessly pulls you to your chair, hides you away from these half days, sunless at the end of the year. The air is like a knife cutting through you. A room in the house is always warm, stretched out on the bathroom floor, thinking of fair days your future may hold. Love comes like surprise ice on the water. Love comes like surprise ice at dawn.
So I love the positivity on this song because, again, as we've mentioned, here's the guy fresh out of a relationship, 5 weeks plus out of a relationship, and he's trying to be positive. He's trying to think of the future, which for him, you know, is basically his way of saying that the future has the potential to be very bright and very wonderful, even though right now he's struggling, he's having a bad time, he's not making a lot of friends, he hasn't found anybody, but he's recognized that love is like surprise ice on the water, as he says. In other words, you never know when it's going to come. You can't really plan for it. So because love is such a wonderful, transformative thing that enriches one's life and makes the future wonderful, you know, don't be afraid, don't be sad about the fact that right now things aren't going your way, because for all you know, the next day you might go to a coffee shop and lock eyes with some cute girl, and you've got great chemistry, and you start talking to each other, and you find out that you both like video games or something, and you start connecting, and you text one another, and you call one another, and the next thing you know, you're married with kids with this wonderful lady. So even though, you know, your current situation really sucks, you got to be positive and think about the future, which for all you know could be wonderful tomorrow or the next week or the week after that. You never know. Love is a surprise ice on the water. So anyways, that's the album. That's Riot on an Empty Street. Again, just a really chill kind of late night vibe. I really like it. Hopefully you guys thought it was interesting. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about it. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It would really help my channel out. But yeah, that is the Kings of Convenience. Check them out and have a good one.